Hello, in this video I will talk about the Easter eggs in FNAF games and at the end decide which game had the best Easter eggs overall. Now before we start, please note that I will only be talking about the click theme games. So basically, games only made by Scott Coffin. No Steel Wool or Illumix. This is because I honestly feel like they don't have a lot of Easter eggs and we might still have not found every Easter egg in Security Breach. Just keep in mind that only Fnaf I II Ultimate Custom Night will be included. But what about Freddy in Space 2 and Fury's Rage? Not including those either. Same with FNAF World. They're spin-offs, so I feel like it would be unfair to rank them against the mainline games. FNAF games usually contain a lot of Easter eggs, so I think it will be fun to look back on them and decide which game had the best ones. Keep in mind, this is my opinion and you are free to disagree with me. If you do, feel free to comment your own opinion down below. We will first take a look at the Easter eggs and then decide which game overall had the best ones. Before we start, however, we need to talk about what makes an Easter egg good. Well, considering FNAF is a horror franchise, I think it has to be creepy. I know that an Easter egg doesn't have to be creepy or even fit the game at all, but I feel like having too many silly things in a FNAF game, especially in the night sections, can break the immersion of the scariness. So I will take creepiness into account when judging the Easter eggs. 2 of my 3 videos had to do with creepiness in FNAF. I am so original. Another thing that I feel is important for a FNAF Easter egg is, well, how cool it is. I know that may sound weird, but by cool I mean how unique it is. I'll show you an example. What's cooler, some text on the wall saying it's me, or the introduction of a brand new character? There is clearly a difference between how unique and cool these were. So if you're wondering, that's how I will judge the Easter eggs. So let's get started. We'll go over the Easter eggs in each game, and in the end, I will provide my answer and reasoning for which FNAF has the best Easter eggs. Keep in mind that the order I'll go over the Easter eggs is random, so I won't start with the worst one and work my way up. Just thought I should clarify that. Also, sorry if I miss any Easter eggs, which, let's be honest, I probably will. I will also go in depth and explain why I think some are especially scary or cool, but I will only briefly go over some if they're not that interesting. Also, I don't consider the weird glitching an Easter egg, for example, and won't talk about it along with other things like Bonnie staring into the camera. I also won't talk about Freddy's honk. Yes, it is mankind's greatest achievement, but I won't talk about it because it is in every FNAF game. We'll obviously be starting with FNAF 1 and oh boy, this one has many Easter eggs. I first want to talk about the Easter eggs that occur outside of the nights. We have this creepy Bonnie and the 1987 custom night Easter egg. I'll only be talking about Bonnie because we'll get to Golden Freddy later. This Bonnie sure is a creepy Easter egg, but I feel like the other Easter eggs similar to this one in the later games are much better. We'll obviously talk about those later. So yeah, this Bonnie one is pretty creepy, but he isn't really anything unique, just Bonnie. Now I'm gonna talk about the Easter eggs in the night section. The first game has a lot of Easter eggs, so let's start. First of all, we have the newspapers. There is a random chance that 1 of 4 newspapers will appear, and honestly, they're cool Easter eggs that include lore. They're not really scary because it's just text. Next up, we have the It's Me Easter egg and the crying children. The children one is especially creepy. We also have the endoskeleton and head staring at you. I think this one is very creepy and very good, because there is already a creepiness in this room when they're not staring at you. But when they suddenly turn towards you with creepy eyes, it is honestly terrifying. I think it's cool because having stationary objects suddenly look at you in FNAF is honestly quite uncommon if you think about it. Definitely a cool and really scary Easter egg. We also have the weird Freddy breaking himself. Pretty cool, not really scary, but oh well. It's kind of easy to miss if you're quickly changing the cameras. That leaves us with the last Easter egg, that being Golden Freddy. Oh boy, this is a really good one. It introduces a whole new character with his own unique creepy jump scare. It's really scary because it leaves the player wondering, what is this version of Freddy? I mean, look at him. Shortly after you see his creepy hard to miss face, he appears in your office. I think this is creepy because, well, there's no other thing in the game that appears in your office after you see it on the cameras. And no, Foxy doesn't count because you can see him running towards you. Golden Freddy just sitting there with his empty eyes is really creepy. He just sits there and then his creepy jumpscare plays. Really creepy and cool Easter egg. Golden Freddy just being there is really creepy. Especially for new players because they don't know what he is. This is a really cool Easter egg that introduces a brand new character. Even if the player pulls up their cameras and the Golden Freddy disappears, it's still really creepy. Because the player is left wondering what that weird yellow Freddy was. Well, that's hopefully all FNAF 1 Easter eggs. Most of these are pretty good and there's some great ones, but I think it's time to move on to the next game, FNAF II. Just like with FNAF 1, I'll begin with the Easter eggs outside of the nights, and honestly, wow, just wow. All of these three are much creepier than the Bonnie from the first game. Their creepy faces without eyes paired with the weird audio that plays actually gives me goosebumps. They just look so creepy in the dark, especially Withered Foxy. I can't put my finger on it, but he just looks incredibly creepy. FNAF 2 introduced a really cool concept to the FNAF franchise, minigames. When you die, there is a chance that one of 4 minigames will play. These minigames mimic old Atari games and are very simple. They basically mostly consist of walking around. They all play creepy music and usually have a jump scare at the end. They also all have lore relevance and are important when trying to solve the lore of the franchise. Let's begin with the Save Them minigame. Basically, you can walk around and see the animatronics, along with dead children. You can also see the blood, so yeah, you follow the puppet and, well, the minigame ends. You sometimes see Golden Freddy, but that's it. Or is it? There is also a chance that you'll be able to see the iconic purple guy sprite, and well, I'll just assume that he tries to break you. A very interesting game that sure to creep out a lot of players. Moving on to the next minigame, we have Give Gifts, Give Life, where we see the puppet give gifts and then give life. Right before the jumpscare, you are able to see a 5th life. Moving on to Take Cake to the Children. I wonder what you do in this one. The title of the minigame explains it. You give cake to kids who get angry if you don't give them cake. But uh-oh, who's that kid locked outside of the restaurant? And what's that creepy purple car doing? And what is that purple man doing? And boom, child murder. Next up we have the last one, Foxy Go Go Go. In this one you play as Foxy. You run out to the children, they're happy, fireworks, everyone has a fun time. Then the game places you back. You run out again. Everyone cheers again. Hooray, what a fun time. But then the game places you back again. This time you see a very happy purple guy smiling, and you quickly find out that the children are dead. No happy fun time, only Withered Foxy jump scare. This was a creepy one, and honestly all of these minigames were. I feel like these minigames were a creative way to tell, or I guess show, some lore of the games. They are all pretty cool and scary. I prefer them to the newspaper in FNAF 1 because the minigames are more engaging and creative. Every Scott Coffin game after this one also had minigames. Now, I would like to move on to the Easter eggs in the nights themselves. So let's start. We'll start with JJ, or Balloon Girl. It's just a female purple version of Balloon Boy that appears under your desk. The character isn't that special. JJ doesn't appear a lot in FNAF games, and she's basically just a recolor of Balloon Boy. Seeing JJ under your desk isn't creepy because, well, what's this thing supposed to do to you? I would kick it. Moving on to a cooler Easter egg, Endo02. Endo02 can appear in the prize corner, where he stands there with his creepy expression, and he can also appear in the left vent. I like this Easter egg, it's very unique because at the time there wasn't another way to get a good look at the new endoskeleton. So honestly, I really like this Easter egg. Next we have the paper pal in the office. This one isn't that good, honestly. The paper pal is just not that creepy. It isn't that scary or cool because, well, come on, it's a paper pal. However, I do like how he camouflages himself. It makes him difficult to spot if you get the Easter egg, which I think is cool. When the music box runs out, you can see the puppet glitching in and out in this camera. And nothing really that cool. Now we have 2 Easter eggs left. We have the Shadow Freddy Easter egg and the Shadow Bonnie Easter egg. Slash this if you don't like convenience. They're brand new characters and yeah, they may be recolors, but come on, these are really cool. Seeing both of these Easter eggs is really creepy, especially if you didn't know they existed. I'm happy to announce that we're ending Fnaf 2 on a high note by saving these Easter eggs for last because they're cool and creepy. Now that we talked about the second game, let's talk about the third one. By the way, I don't consider the secret minigames necessary to get the good ending Easter eggs. First up, we have these creepy Springtrap images and wow, these are really good. This was the only way we could at the time get a really good look at Springtrap, or more like the corpse that's in him. I think this is really cool because we get to see a close-up of the model with good lighting and it makes it easy to see. I mean, compare these two. We have the one where we see William's mouth, the one where we can see him opening the mask a little, and we have the last one where William often also attempts to open the mask but we see it from a weird angle. These Easter eggs are really creepy. They're paired with a creepy sound and just the sight of William's corpse inside the springlock suit is a really creepy thing to see. These are really cool Easter eggs and they're some of my favorite in the entire franchise. Next up, these posters can sometimes be Spring Bonnie posters. I feel like this isn't that creepy because I mean, look at him. I would want to hug that. We also have the poster that can turn into the cupcake or the golden cupcake. The cupcake can also appear in your office. Okay, what's the point? It's just a cupcake, not really anything to talk about here. Not cool or scary because well, it's just a cupcake. The paper pals can also appear in the office. There isn't much to talk about in these Easter eggs either because it's just the paper pals. But then we have the creepy Shadow Freddy Easter egg on the left. This is a cool one. It's a creepy dark Freddy without eyes. Really cool Easter egg. He looks like a creepy lifeless suit and he really fits the atmosphere of the Fnaf III office. He's definitely better than the cupcakes and paper pals we just talked about. The Springtrap Easter eggs are definitely my favorite in Fnaf 3. With Fnaf 3 out of the way, let's move on to the fourth game. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 has very little Easter eggs. It has the flowers, pills, and an IV drip next to the bed. These are pretty alright, not scary, but are actually pretty weird. They can be pretty easy to miss, especially if you're not paying a lot of attention to the game, especially the pills. They are very small. We also have the purple guy helping another employee put a suit on. Pretty cool, but it isn't anything that special. We just see purple guy helping another employee. Fnaf 4 had very little Easter eggs, and the ones it did have weren't creepy. Oh well. Moving on to Sister Location. Sister Location has some interesting Easter eggs. We have the creepy blueprints that tell us more about the animatronics in the game, and we can see what appears to be a child inside of Funtime Freddy. These Easter eggs are pretty cool, not scary, but I think it's really cool that we see more of the designs of the animatronics. Next up, we have the Biddy Bab and Mini Rena Easter eggs. Sometimes a Biddy Bab will appear in the elevator and in your house. That's pretty creepy honestly, but we also have the Mini Rena Easter eggs. There is a rare chance that a Mini Rena will show up in the primary control module, your house, and your popcorn. I feel like the Mini Rena Easter eggs are also creepy because it seems like they are stalking you. But the popcorn one is pretty funny. Next up, we have Yendo. When going through Funtime Foxy's room, there's a chance that Yendo will appear instead of Funtime Foxy. Pretty creepy because it's not something the player expects. He and Lolbit were added in the Custom Night update. Speaking of Lolbit, sometimes Lolbit's face will appear instead of the Ennard mask. This isn't really creepy, but it's cool and a fun reference to Lolbit from FNAF World. The last Sister Location Easter egg we will take a look at is in the private room. If you type 1983 in the keypad, you will be able to see some Fnaf 4 locations. Pretty creepy, cool, and it has lore relevance. Sister Location definitely had more Easter eggs than Fnaf 4, and the Easter eggs here were pretty good overall. Now, it's pizza sim time. First up, the Easter egg in Midnight Motorist. You walk around and well, take in the lore. Pretty cool, but not scary at all. The music played is a banger though. In fact, let's put it on right now. Next up, Fruity Maze. Yeah, the game will get creepy and bloody and you're able to see what appears to be a Spring Bonnie suit. Obviously, there is someone inside the suit. Pretty creepy. Then we have the security puppet minigame, where we can see the puppet crawling and finding a dead child, which is Charlie. Very scary and cool. We also have the Candy Cadet stories. They're okay, definitely symbolism with 5 things becoming one. By the way, I do not consider the secret egg baby ending an Easter egg. Lastly, we have these creepy Easter eggs. I think these are really scary. We can see the animatronics in the back alley. I think it's really cool and creepy. Really good Easter eggs that I really like. Especially when paired with the thunder noises and lightning strikes. Overall, really good. They're either creepy or cool. Very good lineup of Easter eggs. This brings us to Ultimate Custom Night, the last game we will be taking a look at. After we talk about this game, I will go over which games had overall good Easter eggs and which games had mediocre ones, and in the end I will give my verdict on which FNAF game had the best Easter eggs. So let's start. First up, Fredbear. This is a cool one. We're finally able to see Fredbear's jump scare and it has some creepy cryptic messages. Very cool because this is the first time we are able to see Fredbear's model. Then we have the secret Old Man Consequences minigame, where we can talk to Old Man Consequences, hear some guy screaming, and we can drown. A fun reference to FNAF World and a cool way to tell lore. We also have the creepy face that can show up when you die or quickly fade out when you put your cameras down, for example. Honestly, terrifying if you don't know about it when you play the game. We also have the creepy mediocre melodies voice lines and the one you should not have killed voice lines. The mediocre melodies voice lines are especially creepy because you can hear a circus baby talking in the background, telling the mediocre melodies what to say. Really creepy and cool. Lastly, more FNAF World references. Some FNAF World enemies have a chance to appear on your desk. Not creepy at all, but a cool throwback to FNAF World. Now that we talked about every Easter egg in these games, I may have missed some. I will decide which game had the overall best Easter eggs. Keep in mind that this is just my opinion. You are free to either agree or disagree. If you want to, post down your pick for the game with the best Easter eggs below. It was pretty tough picking a winner, but I think that it has to go to Fnaf II. Listen, just the variety of Easter eggs we get, secret minigames, creepy images, and entirely new characters. There were a lot of new characters introduced, and most of the Easter eggs here are really creepy. Go away! Pizzeria Sim was a close second because it still had some great Easter eggs, but FNAF 2 Easter eggs just were so good overall. The minigames all were very cool. Overall, I think FNAF 2 takes the cake. I am not saying that the other games had bad Easter eggs. The other games still had some amazing Easter eggs, but FNAF 2 just each one of them was either good, or really good, or paper pal. FNAF 1 was also a contender to win. Almost every game in the franchise had some really good Easter eggs. Almost. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video or even subscribing. I would really appreciate it. I hope you had fun watching this video. This was Game Speaking, and goodbye.